So we're on Ted Zayin with Aleph, and it's from the bottom 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lines about Tan Rabbanan. So we're going to introduce now a new term. We had Nidoi and we have Cherem, which is a stronger form of the excommunication. Nidoi is a lesser form. Now we have something called Nazifa. Now Nazifa means like you're put down, but it's not the same kind of strictures as Cherem. It's like saying, like, go to your room, all right? Or stay away, or I'm angry at you. And you realize that for a day you probably should lie low, so to speak. Probably the term lying low is probably a good way to describe it. But it doesn't have. So first of all, it's only for a certain period of time, maybe for 1 day, maybe for 7 days.
Specified amount of time.
Right. Well, actually, it seems to depend.
No, as they specify it when they put you or no?
No, it seems to depend on the locale.
Okay.
And the second thing, and this is really what's important, is you're not put into it. It's like a self-induced recognition that you did something wrong, and therefore you will modulate yourself by putting yourself into some self-induced nazifa, but which means no one's put you in, which means no basin has to take you out.
Right.
So it's a form of self regulation when one recognizes that they did something wrong and they better kind of lie low for a bit, or take upon themselves a certain degree of self removal from society.
Never.
Okay, especially from the person who they insulted. So Tan Rabbanan. So this is the segue into it. Tan Rabbanan. Ein nidoi pachos milamad yom. That a nidoi can't be less than 30 days. I don't recall, did we have the Gemara about the Tabach who they needed?
We did have,
and
right.
They wanted, and 30 days hadn't been up. Can they let him out? Couldn't they let him out?
We had that.
But really, normally a nidoi is at least 30 days. Could be longer, but it's not going to be shorter. V'ein nazifa pachos mizayin yomim. And nazifa, which is this self-induced kind of put down, is not less than 7 days. And then the Gemara says, even though there's no real proof that a nazifa is 7 days, okay, so there's somehow a hint to it. Shenemar, and this is the story of Miriam. It says, So when Miriam speaks Lashon Hara against Moshe about Isha Kushita Shelakach, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that she will, like her, there was something she did disrespectful, and therefore Tikolem shall be put aside or put away for 7 days. So the Nazifa of Miriam was, I'm sorry? Humiliated. She'll be humiliated for 7 days. Embarrassed.
So Miriam was officially in this Nazifa.
Officially, she was in nothing. Officially, she's Soras. Officially, she has Soras, and she has to go outside the camp.
Right.
So,
Moshe asked her to be cured, and that's what Hashem said. Yeah, but the 7 days.
Correct. So 7 days will be so it's Soras. It's a physical or a spiritual punishment, but the fact that it talks about Sikolem, about humiliating someone or being humiliated, and you see it's connected with 7 days, this is what they call at least a chazech l'damar. It's not a proof. It's very clearly not a proof. It's not nazifa. We do not have a concept of nazifa in the Torah. But this is at least the closest we can approximate to why they would choose 7 days for nazifa. Okay. Now, of course, it's not self-induced either.
Right.
There, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's putting her in. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's being angry with her.
But you could see it was a kind of a semi-banishment sort of for 7 days, right?
So there's the two levels. You have Cherem, which is 30 days, and that's obviously a lot stricter. Nazifa is 7 days. Nidui, sometimes Nidui is 30 days, Nazifa 7. Now the Gemara says, Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda is talking about in Bavel. Nidui shalanu, our Nidui is Nazifa shalahem. It's like their nazifa, which means maybe our cherem is only going to be like
only 7 days.
7 days. Unazifa ditu shiva, and their nazifa is only 7 days. So Rav Chisda is saying we who live in Bavel, our power is less. So when we put someone into a nidui, that's only for 7 days, like their nazifa. So everything moves down one level, so to speak. So once again, the key to this is that you see Nazifa is going to be for 7 days.
Right.
Right? We haven't really talked about getting in, getting out. Simply looks more at this point to be a number of days. Nidui is 30, Nazifa is only 7.
Except in Bavel, even Nidui is only...
Correct. Which means that in Bavel, they may not have had Nazifa. But the key to bringing this down is when the Gemara is now going to talk about Nazifa, we're not really focused anymore about Chera, about Nidui.
Right.
We're focusing upon Nazifa.
Right.
The Nazifa in Eretz Yisrael was 7 days.
Clearly.
Which means, if you see someone who is put in some kind of social ostracism for more than 7 days, is it going to be Nazifa? Can't be Nazifa.
Right.
It's got to be something more. So the 30 days would have to be a full-fledged Nidui, a Chera. So the Gemara says, Vesulo, you mean you can't have Nazifa for more than 7 days? Because that's what Rav Chisda seems to say, that our Nidui is like there in Nazifa. Well, we have the following case. Rav Shimon bar Rabbi, Ubar Kapara. So Rav Shimon, the son of Rabbi, not the Rabbi Shimon who normally comes up in the Mishnah, but Rav Shimon, the son of Rabbi, had 2 sons. One was Rav Shimon, and Bar Kapara were learning. They were sitting, and they were learning. They were learning together. Kashalu Shmaitata. They had a difficulty in the sugya, in the shmuah. They had a question which they didn't understand. So Amalei Rav Shimon the Bar Kapara. So Rav Shimon, the son of Rabbi, you see why it's important in a moment who he is, says to Bar Kapara, Davar zeh tzarech Rabbi. We have to go ask Rabbi. We have to go ask my father, the famous Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, how to explain to us what the Shmaitza, what the Shmuah is really saying here. So Amalei Bar Kapara Rav Shimon. Umar Rabbi Omer b'davar zeh. What do you think Rabbi would know about in this thing? Well, we have to go ask your father. This is not your father's expertise. So he was a bit disparaging about whatever. It doesn't tell us what the discussion was. That Rabbi didn't have the knowledge base to be able to help them here. Right? No, he's got nothing to add. It may have been a very innocent comment.
Sure.
It wasn't necessarily meant to be cynical. It means, for all that we know that Rabbi taught us, we have a further difficulty. So Rav Shimon, the son of Rabbi, went to tell his father, and Ikbid. And of course, Rabbi got very upset. He was very insulted. So also Bar Kapara, so Rabbi Kapara came to and appeared before him. In other words, it may have not been related. He was coming in front of him. So Rabbi said to him, Bar Kapara, says, I don't know any Bar Kaparas. Bar Kapara never met you before. Okay, I don't know who you are. And Bar Kapara was a pretty top-notch scholar. So when Bar Kapara heard this, Yada the Nakat Milsa Bedaite. So he understood that he did something against the Dad, insulting to Rebbe. So Nohag Nizivusa Benafshe Talsin Yamin, Klasin Yamin. So he did his own self removal from society for how long? 30 days. 30 days. Klasin is 30. Shloshim, tough and shin flip. So Shloshim Yom, he put himself in the Zif. He put himself self-imposed isolation for 30 days. So you see that Nazifa.
What's 3 again? 3 is just 3.
Plus. Okay. Plus is Shalosh.
Right.
Shloshim is Talsin. Klasin. Okay. So that's one case. You see from his first case that Nazifa is not 7 days; it's 30 days.
Sure. That was an Eretz Yisrael too.
It means Eretz Yisrael. It means that's what Rav Chisda is saying, that our Nidui is like their Nazifa, and their Nazifa is 7 days.
7 days.
But here you see that it's not 7 days, it's 30 days. Okay?
Of course, he's self-imposed.
So I mean, you would say, well, what's the big deal? He decided to do it longer. You're right, but you see that Nazifa has certain parameters. In other words, you all identified when I said about laying low. Right?
Yes.
But the idea of Cherem or Nidui in Nazifa is formalized how long you lay low.
Mm-hmm.
So because this was a very rigid system about respect and scholars and so forth, and accepting authority, and a rejection of authority could lead to a Cherem or Nidui. So there was a formalization about Nazifa as well. Another story. Shuv Pamachad, one time, Gaza Rebbe Shlo Yishanu Talmidim B'Shuk. He made a rule that students should not study or teach in the marketplace. Okay? In other words, if you want to study, you should go and study inside, not outside. Why? My Darish, what was his reason? It says, Chamukei rechech kmo chalayim. That your yerech is your thigh.
Right.
Your thigh is hidden, what's chalayim?
Jewels.
Like jewels. Okay, so this is taken from Shir Hashirim, and in talking about Klal Yisrael, or about the Na'ara, the Betula there. So Shlomo Melech says your hidden thigh is like as beautiful as jewels.
Right. What's that got to do with this?
No. So he says, we all know that Shir Hashirim is never meant to be understood simply as an erotic kind of poetry. The jewelry of the Jewish people is, of course, learning.
Right.
Therefore, what the analogy is meant to be, Ma Yorech B'Seiser, continues the Gemara, Af Divrei Torah B'Seiser. Same way that the thigh is hidden, and that's how what is sneas, the part of the body is supposed to be covered. So the Torah, said Rabbi, should be hidden as well. Shouldn't be done outside. Okay.
What does that mean?
That's a good question.
So the question why he would do this, right?
No. The bigger the crowd, the better. The bigger the prayer.
So I don't know why he would do it. I can think of a number of theories. First of all, there may have been idols in the marketplace. There may have been Romans were known to put things up all over the place. Second of all, it may have not been conducive to real study. I know we live in a rush society. That you grab 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Someone told me today, who was actually a member of the show, that I should come look in their car and see the books they have on their front seat. Every time he gets to a stoplight, pulls out a book. Most of his books are probably philosophy, Jewish ethics, Jewish values. So I said, I can't do that. Okay, I got to focus on the traffic. But you know what? But we're about 5 minutes of Torah, like a little drop of Torah. So Dvar Torah is going to be good. But that's a serious Torah. It requires something that's more focused. And maybe in the marketplace it's hard to focus. Maybe there's all kinds of distractions, and I'm not sure why. But whatever he said, he was basically trying to say that something is important.
He's referring to the marketplace?
Yeah, shuk. Shuk is the marketplace. Shuk. They shouldn't study in the shuk. Doesn't mean you can't make a brach in the shuk. Doesn't mean you can. In other words, if you want to have a serious discussion, right? For us, this is very foreign. Yeah. You hear about shurim in second cup, right? People come together for learning. People go learn anywhere, right? You see, people jump at you with svarim when you're outside.
Might
sometimes.
even say that it's good, but
right? But the point, the serious scholarship had to be focused in a place, and you were fooling yourself if you were doing it outside. I don't know how to describe it. We talked today about distracted driving. This was distracted learning. Okay.
And again, I guess the word V'seiter, it would have been nice if he'd said inside, but maybe that's all he meant was inside.
Correct.
Only because there's a tradition, ancient world, of keeping things, secret. Like the elite knows things that the ordinary person is supposed to know anything, but hopefully that's not what it really meant. It meant inside as opposed to outside. Yeah.
And you'll see from the continuation, there may have been certain times where it was important to go outside, but generally, as a rule, the place to learn was inside the base medrash. Okay.
It's true.
You know what? There is I forget. In Hilchos Sukkah, that if one wants to study in the Sukkah, you can study, but if it really requires intensive concentration, the Sukkah may not be the place for it. You need to go inside where you can refocus. Anyways, so when you go outside, you do a lot of things in the Sukkah. So Sukkah is a good place to study if you can, but sometimes you really got something that requires a lot of concentration, so it may be appropriate to go inside out of the Sukkah.
Well, the Sukkah is like your home.
Correct, but sometimes being in the Sukkah, it's a bit cooler, and it's not the conditions are not as. But all I'm saying is it goes back to the concept of trying to find a place where, one can focus more on Torah study, and that's what he was saying to his students. He says this, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Yotze Rabbi Chia v'shana l'shnei b'nei echa v'shuk. So Rabbi Chia, after this was said, Rabbi Chia is a younger contemporary of Rabbi, goes and teaches two of his nephews in the shuk. To who? L'Rav Bar Bachana. Okay, so we actually know the story. So Shama Rabbi and Ikbis. So Rabbi heard about this, and then of course he got once again very insulted, very upset. So also Rabbi Chia l'schazuya lei. So Rabbi Chia appeared before him. Once again, the same kind of story. So Amalei. So he said to him, he says, Aya. He didn't even call him Chia. He kind of give him a nickname. The ches becomes an ayin. Aya, which Rashi says a lashon gnai, to put down. Mi korah l'cha. Who's calling you outside? In other words, I hear they're calling you outside. What are you doing inside here in the base medrash with me? Basically, it was a nice way of saying, please leave, I'm angry with you. And he didn't put him in cherem because even though it felt it was disrespectful. So now you of course have to explain why Rabbi Chia would do something like this, if it looks like it goes in the face of what Rabbi said not to do. Each of them are going to have a reason. So, but the point of it being, Yada Danaket Milsa B'daite, so he realized, Rabbi Chia realized that he understood immediately he did something inappropriate. Nohag Nizivusa B'nafshe Talsin Yomin. So he did Nizifa for 30 days. Talsin Yoma. So once again, how many days is Nazifa?
Apparently 30 days.
30 days, okay?
These two cases.
What did he do for 30 days?
He stayed away from Rebbe. He stayed away from the base medrash. He kept off the kept below the radar. He stayed himself.
He went to shul and did everything, right?
Yeah, probably went to shul, but he didn't go to Rebbe's shul. Went to a different shul.
Okay.
In other words, he realized that he was a self-imposed exile, so to speak, social exile. So once again, that's going to be the question. We haven't gotten to the answer yet. So, B'yom Talsin, on the 30th day, Shalach Lei.
Who sent to who?
So Rebbe sends to Rabbi Chia and says, "Tay, come." Okay, in other words, you come back. Hadar Shalach Lei. Then he sent the second messenger to Rabbi Chia and he said, "Lo Lei say, he shouldn't come." So 30th day, first he sends one messenger, come, you can come back to my base medrash, and then he sends another one, don't come. So the Gemara has to explain what this means. Meikara myself, myself. What do you think? What did Rabbi think? And then what did we not think the second time around? Meikara savar mixas yom kukula. First he thought the 30th day is ready, it's over, like Avelis.
In the morning, yeah.
We have a rule that sometimes a partial day is like a day.
Yeah.
Well, B'sof Savar, Law Mina Mixas Yom Kekula. In the end, he says, no, that doesn't apply to this. There are certain laws that it applies to. This is not one of those laws. It's a full 30 days that he is in the Zifa, and therefore don't come back today. It didn't mean don't come back forever. It mean don't come back today.
Right.
So that's the 30th day versus the 31st day.
Right.
But guess what? L'sof Asa. Rabbi Chia came anyway. Okay?
Didn't get that second message.
That's exactly right. The email got lost. So Amalei. So Rabbi said to him, "Amai Asis." Says, "What are you here for?" So Amalei the Shalach Le Mard Leise. Says, "Because you sent a messenger to me I should come." So the Rabbi said, "Vashalchi lach lo leise, lo teise." I sent the second message. You shouldn't come. So Amalei, so he said to him, and he's obviously been crafty. Zeh roisi v'zeh lo roisi. This I saw, this I didn't see. Okay. Now.
Possible.
So it by the way, this may be the same kind of concept as in the previous story, where Bar Kapara, what did Rebbe say to him? I don't know who you are.
Right.
So it's like everybody's playing games. I know who you are, I don't know. It's the second messenger I didn't get. So it doesn't really mean that he didn't get it. He pretended he didn't get it. And that, the first messenger clearly was there. So he could rely upon that. So Amalei, so Kari Alei, so Rabbi referred to him, the pasuk in Mishlei, B'ritzos Hashem darke ish, gam oivav yashlim imo. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants to, the way that Kadosh Baruch Hu wants a person to go, so even his enemies will have to make up with him. In other words, he was clever enough to know that I wanted him to come back. Right. So I said he responded to the first message and not the second message. Right. Okay. So at any rate, 30 days, 31 days, he got the message, didn't get the message, just all the actual details of the story to show this to us. This is an authentic tale that happened. Now the Gemara wants to know. Okay, so why should you study inside the base medrash? Why should you study outside? So now the Gemara continues. My time avad marhachi.
Right.
Okay. So Rabbi said to him, "Why did you, Rabbi Chia, do this following thing? Did you study Torah or taught Torah outside the base medrash?"
Right.
So Amalei. So Rabbi Chia said, "Dechsiv chachmos b'chutz tarona," that the wisdom will be celebrated in outside. Once again, also from Mishlei.
Here, he says, "Mashma shetzarich lefarsem divrei Torah Rabbi."
So in other words, the pasuk in Mishlei says Chachma should be in that outside. That's what I was doing. So in other words, I have a scriptural base as well from Mishlei Perek Aleph, and it seems to me that that teaching wisdom or studying wisdom is not confined to the Beis Medrash, is equally valid, or maybe is even better to be done outside. Okay, which is what you all kind of felt should be doing. We're doing with Torah study. Mm-hmm. So Rabbi said to him, "Im korisa," look, he's a little survey. "Im korisa lo shanita, v'im shanita lo shilashta, v'im shilashta lo pirash lecha." In other words, if you read it. Okay, if you read the pasuk, lo shanita, you didn't study it. Shinun or vishinanta means to study. Korah means to read it. Okay, and if you read it and you learned it, you didn't read it 3 times. You weren't careful about it because shinantam and sheni, shnayim are related because to study you have to study something more than once.
Right.
So if you read it, you didn't really study it. If you studied it, you didn't really study it well for the 3rd time around. And if you studied it 3 times around, you didn't really understand what it means. Right. So in other words, that's a great pasuk, but you didn't understand pshat. What does it mean? It says Chachmos b'chutz Torona means Kidarava, the Amarava. It's actually an acronym because Rava lives after probably Rabbi. The Amarava Kala Osek, or it means doesn't mean that Rava said. It means the statement that Rava later said. Kala Osek b'Torah mibifnim Torah so machrezes alav. It means that a person who studies Torah inside, the Torah testifies about this person outside. In other words, wherever he goes, you can identify this as a Torah scholar. He's not just a Torah scholar inside. Wherever he is, his scholarship, whatever he does, his scholarship is clear in everything he does. This, in other words, a true Torah scholar is going to be ethical and moral and helpful and a part of society and so forth and so on. So when it says Chachma b'chutz Torona, doesn't mean study outside, study inside. But even when you're outside, people are going to recognize you're a real scholar. Your scholarship, your Torah scholarship will reflect upon you wherever you go, even outside. Now you say, examples where it doesn't.
No, even if it did, it's sort of, that's a reflection of how great the scholar is, but it doesn't talk about the Farsim and the Torah. The people
so it doesn't say that. So Chachmas b'chutz Torona is talking about the Chachma is going to be outside. So the wisdom is, in other words, you will set an example. People will know what this is an example of what a person learns, even though they don't see you learning because you're learning inside. That's what he's saying. Okay.
Does he mean inside in the sense of inside the building, or inside the sense of internalizing? Because it says mi bifnim.
That's a good question.
Right, not just bifnim, but mi bifnim. Yeah. That's a very good point.
So if you internalize it, it's apparent to everyone that you have internalized it.
Right. Maybe it refers to internal. If you've internalized it, it's clear on the outside what's on the inside of you. Okay, good. Okay, good shot. Okay, I think that's probably closer to truth. So the Gemara says. So as a result, that's what it means. It doesn't mean that you should sit and study Torah physically outside. It talks about the inside of a person is going. If a person is a really true Torah scholar, it will be reflected in everything he does on the outside.
Sure.
So therefore, your pshat is wrong, and my pshat is, which is of course that is the reason why the Torah should remain hidden.
Right.
Okay. So now the Gemara says another pshat. It's not clear if Rabbi Chia is saying this or the Gemara is now adding to this. V'yaksiv lo merosh b'seiser dibarti. So this is from Yeshayahu, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I didn't speak to you in the hidden. Initially I didn't speak inside. What I said was really meant for all of the Jews. What I really said was meant for all the Klal Yisrael. So the Chazals understand this to be that there is a purpose for studying externally, not just simply inside. Okay?
Absolutely.
So the Gemara says, Hahu b'yoma dekala. That is about, it says, yes, there is a time for that. The kala was the, we use the term yarche kala today. This is when they opened up the academies for people to come study. So it was no longer a small coterie of scholars, but they ran public lectures, and people would come for a month before Rosh Hashanah, a month before Pesach, what's called the Yarche de Kala. Okay, and in fact, there was in many cases a special Rosh Yeshiva for the Kala study, which we refer to in our Yukam Porkam. We say Reishe Kala, Reishe Galvasa. Reishe Galvasa is the Rosh HaGalut, Rosh Galusa. Reishe Kala is the Rosh HaKala. Okay, and that's that Yukam Porkam with all the different scholars. So there was a Rosh Yeshiva, and there was a Rosh HaKala, who was, like you probably call him today, outreach. Director of outreach learning. So he says, yeah, you're right, that is on special occasions when they opened up the Beis Medrash and there were public lectures and everybody came. Yeah, that's what it means, Lo me rosh b'seis dibarta. There are times for that. However, that's not meant for normal. The normal is real scholars. Real scholars should be studying the Beis Medrash in a close society. Okay? So now the Gemara says, wait, there's still one more piece to this. The Gemara says, Rabbi Chia, so now that we know what Rebbe believed, that scholarship should be inside.
Right.
And we know how Rebbe interprets all the other psukim.
Right.
Chachmos bachutz to Torono is not about study, it's about the internal part of the scholar is visible on the outside. When it says, Lo mirosh b'seisa dibarti is referring to Yarchei the Kala, but not the normal routine. So Gemara says, so what did Rabbi Chia do with the pasuk that we quoted before? Rabbi Chia, when it says that thing, your thighs, your beautiful thighs are hidden thighs like jewels, what does that refer to? My avidle, muki la b'tzedakah b'gemilas chasadim. So Rabbi Chia says it doesn't refer to Torah, right? In fact, it doesn't talk about Torah. It talks about what Rebbe felt chalayim are jewels, and the jewels are Torah. He says no. There are times to do acts of kindness that are hidden. The best way to do tzedakah is when nobody knows about it. The recipient doesn't know about it. Right. The Rambam puts this to the highest level. In other words, that's what the pasuk is talking about. The beauty of the Jewish people is about the help that they give for tzedakah, gemilas chasadim, which is hidden, and the fact that it even connects more to jewels, because jewels is a monetary aspect, has a worth. So the help they're giving is giving in a way that's hidden and should be hidden. They don't know what it is. So that's what it is. At any rate, this is the second story. So we had two stories. One story about Bar Kapara, who made a crack about Rebbe, and Rebbe was upset. He went to Niziva for 30 days. And then we have a story here about Rabbi Chia. Also, he disregarded the edict of Rebbe, and he put himself in Niziva for 30 days. You see what? You see it in Niziva for how long? 30 days, not for 7 days.
Yes.
So the Gemara said, now here's the question. Alma Niziva ditu tlasin yomin. You see that Niziva...
3. Tlat yamino.
I have Carlson.
I have Tlat.
I think the end of the line looks like it's scratched out.
Yeah.
Mine clearly says Tlat, but...
You know what? In my Gemara, the nun is added in a later thing. You have a Talson?
Tlat.
Okay, well...
Tlatin. And it's...
But it makes no sense, Talson. Talson doesn't make sense.
Tlatin.
Klatin.
Which is 30.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so it looks like the line there was a misprint here, or it looks like whatever it was. But it clearly, you see from the story, and you see from the person who printed this, the nun is obviously in a different level of a different font, that Tlasin refers to 30 days, that 30 days. Okay?
Yeah.
So the Gemara says, wait, okay, but so that's 30 days. So the Gemara's answer is, are you right? It's usually 7 days, but Nizivat Nasi shiny. If you kind of insult the Nasi,
like Rebbe.
Like Rebbe. The fact that this guy insulted Rebbe, went to Nazifa for 30 days, is not really a proof for what regular Nazifa is. Regular Nazifa is enough for 7 days. But Rebbe, you know what? He beat Rebbe to the punch. What he did, what each of these people did, was so disrespectful to Rebbe that Rebbe could have put them into a nidui for 30 days. They understood it right away, and they beat him to the punch. They put their own nazifa into it. So it would be foolish or counterproductive or really gain nothing for Rebbe now to put them into a nidui as well, because they understood right away. The message crept in.
Yeah, mind you, Rabbi Chia's reasoning sounded, I guess you have to say, well, he's only Rebbe.
But
he said, hey, that
but if Rebbe makes the rule, the rule is the rule. You can't.
Rebbe tried to back it though with a pasuk.
Right, but whatever it was, you see immediately that Rabbi Chia goes and disregards it, and he goes and he doesn't disregard it privately because of the nature of what the decree was. He does it in the shuk where it's open to everybody.
Absolutely.
You can imagine this is going to break people's respect for Rebbe. So Rebbe would be entitled to put him into some type of nidui cherem. Instead, he beats him to the punch. And by the whole idea of a nidui and cherem is when a person doesn't realize they're recalcitrant.
Right.
Right. What we talk about a nidui being used for two cases. One is monetary. The basin has come to a decision that A owes B, and A doesn't want to pay B. So as a way to enforce collection or to enforce the decision, they said if you don't pay, we're going to put you in a nidui, and that'll kind of put a little squeeze on you. The other time is about, and that has to be, we thought it has to be done 3 times: Monday, Thursday, Monday. They have to warn them before they put them to nidui. The other time it's used, that's the one you're most familiar with, where there's a person who's recalcitrant against the decision of the chachamim, or the decision of the leader. And when he does that, there's no choice but to kind of show the power of the hierarchy of leadership and put the recalcitrant into a cherem. In this case, they understood right away what was wrong. So you don't need a nidui. So, but because it was a nasi and because it was so public, therefore it goes for 30 days. So now the Gemara says, we're still back with Nazifa. Nazifa didan kamahave. So we said as follows. In Eretz Yisrael, nidui is 30 days, Nazifa is 7.
7, right.
In Bavel, nidui is not 30 days, 7.
7.
So Gemara says, so how long is the Nazifa in Bavel?
Right.
Nazifa didan kamahave chad yoma.
Right.
It's 1 day, okay? And the Gemara brings a story, a proof. Gehad the Shmuel Mar Ukva Kavayasve. When Shmuel Mar Ukva were sitting, Havayasve Garsi Shmaitatan, they were studying. Havayasiv Mar Ukva Kamei the Shmuel Barachuk Dalaramos. This is another story. So Mar Ukva and Shmuel would study together. Mar Ukva was the Reish Galusa. Shmuel was the leading scholar. Okay, so you have the political leader of the community and you have the real scholar. So when they would sit and study, so Mar Ukva would sit 4 amos away from Shmuel because he was not in the first row of where we're studying. He was back. Let's see if I got this correct, please. No, maybe the other way around.
It doesn't matter. They were separated by 4.
Mar Ukva was the Nasi.
Here it says he was the Av BAYT.
No.
Okay, Nasi the Av BAYT. Okay, and Shmuel, and he was a student of Shmuel. So Shmuel was a greater scholar from Mar Ukva. Mar Ukva was still the Nasi of the generation of the Av BAYT. So when they were sitting and studying, when they went to a din Torah, so who would be the lead judge? Let's see if I got this. I think I got it mixed up. Who's sitting in front of who?
Shmuel sat in front of her.
When they're sitting and studying, who's sitting in front of who? Kaviyasi Shmaita. Mar Ukva is sitting in front of Shmuel. Right. Okay. When they're going to a din Torah, Havayasif Shmuel kamei de Mar Ukva brachuk dalar amos. Okay, so Shmuel would sit in front of Mar Ukva because he was the leading judge as the Nasi. So even though Shmuel was the greater scholar, Mar Ukva was the leader, head of the Beit Din, as the Nasi or the Rosh Galusa, whatever he was. So, or the Av BAYT.
No, I know. All he says here is Hayu Yoshvim Lomdim Halacha Haya Yoshev Mar Ukva Lifnei Shmuel.
Ken, yes.
And I guess the other way around.
And when there was a din Torah,
I guess and that was the kavod he was giving to Talmud. Shmuel Haya Gadol Mimenu B'Torah.
Correct. Right.
V'chi Yoshev Kasher Hayu Yoshvim B'Din Haya Yoshev Shmuel Lifnei Mar Ukva.
Correct. So when it comes to din, Mar Ukva was the head. When it came to study, scholarship, Shmuel was the head. Shmuel was the leading scholar. So you have this reversal that Mar Ukva is a student in comparison to Shmuel. However, he's a judge. He's the one who's entrusted with the political authority of the ultimate judgment. So he's going to be the head of the court. So Shmuel will sit before him. So this reciprocal kind of thing, and they would cut out some kind of place for Mar Ukva What's Tzifta? Tzifta is... Sifta was some kind of hoe. So they would cut out a place Mar Ukva, where Mar Ukva could be higher, I think, and to hear what Shmuel was saying. So in other words, I believe Mar Ukva was in front of Shmuel for the learning, but they put a place that Mar Ukva could be raised among the students, so he would be able to hear what Shmuel says, because they gave him that kind of kavod. But you have this kind of reciprocal relationship where Shmuel is the Talmud Chacham, Mar Ukva is the Dayan, the chief Dayan. So what happens? Kol Yomei, every day, having Malavi le Mar Ukva l'Shmuel adu shpizeh. Every day, Mar Ukva would accompany Shmuel when he went back to his home, went back to where he was staying. Mar Ukva is the student. Mar Ukva, the Dayan, the chief Dayan, is the student of Shmuel. He would accompany Shmuel. Yom Echad have a itrid bedineh. One day, Mar Ukva was still thinking about the judgment. They were in a din Torah, and it was very complicated, and Mar Ukva was still thinking about the din Torah, so he was Torah in the din, right. And he didn't walk with Shmuel, he walked on his own, and he left Shmuel behind because he was deep in thought. Have also Shmuel Basrei. Shmuel walked behind him. He left his Rebbe and walked on his own. So you see what's going on here?
Disrespect.
And it was a matter of disrespect. When he came to his house, right. That was probably Shmuel's house, Amalei, so Shmuel said to him, Lo naga lach, is it not clear to you? It's not clear like light. Lishri limar betigre, that you should release me from this agreement, the din Torah. In other words,
this arrangement.
You should let me go on my own. In other words, let me go by myself. I think he's referring to the din Torah. In other words, you're having so much trouble with the din Torah, and you've left me. I want to be out of this Beis Din. So it was almost like it was a put down back to him. So Yada, the naked milsei bedaite. So Mar Ukva understood that he did something disrespectful to Shmuel. Mar Ukva once again is the Nasi, Shmuel is the Talmud Chacham. Nohag nizifuse b'nafshi chad yoma. So Mar Ukva, who is the head judge, puts himself in a nazifa for one day. And this is, of course, in Bavel. Shmuel's in Bavel, Mar Ukva's in Bavel. Okay? So you see an example of where Nazif and Bavel is for one day.
Right.
And even though, they're both great scholars.
Well, they're both great men.
And they're both great men. They're both great men. One is greater than the other, right? And one is a greater judge than the other. So they self watch themselves by putting himself in the zifa. Okay. Another example. Hahi itza, to have a yasva b'shvila. There was a woman that was sitting in the shvil, in the road, and have a pashta kare. She was dealing with some type of grain. She was hulling the grains, so she had her legs sticking out. V'ka asye minifa. I'm sorry, I skipped the line.
Oh yeah.
V'ka minifa chushlai. And she was peeling barley. Chushlai is a type of barley that was peeled. So she was either sorting them or removing the peel or husking them. But she was working on something where she had to be set out. And the way she was set, she was sitting on the side of the road, but because of the way she was holding the barley, she had her foot out there. Okay. Now, this is not a tznius issue, but it was blocking the road.
Right.
Okay? So, so a scholar, tzur b'Rabbanan means a scholar, we don't know his name, it's like a guy in the Beis Medrash, walked by, and she didn't kind of pull up before him. Okay? That sounds like almost like, false haughtiness. But she was an obstacle to him. And I guess because this is a public thoroughfare, and maybe he almost tripped or whatever, and maybe she was making an obstacle for a lot of people, Amar, he said, Chama chatzifa ha'itza. How brazen is this woman that she's kind of sitting there and doing stuff right in the middle of the road, right? Sometimes you're driving along and some guy stops a car. You say, what? We couldn't pull over onto the side, right? You stop in the middle, you have to go around you. The same kind of thing. So she could have moved further over.
That's Hatzifa. That's the same word as chutzpah.
Yes, she's saying what a chutzpah, what a chutzpah person. What chatzufa she is.
Yeah.
That this woman is very chatzuf. Because she's taking up the road. Now, yes, she does need to do this, but she could have pulled off to the side of the road. And she is really, the term it's used, she's in the shvila. The shvil is the lane, the thoroughfare.
Yeah.
And pashtakari, if she was sitting and had her feet closed, it'd be one thing. But the fact that her foot is out, her leg is out, right? Then it's causing an obstacle and so forth. So Asa Lakamei the Rabbi Nachman. So she came to Rabbi Nachman, and she was concerned that this Tzurba Rabbanan put her into a chayram, into a nidui. Okay, she was actually very worried about this because it wasn't clear what he was trying to say.
Exactly.
And he was obviously very upset about her. Maybe she didn't realize where she was, or maybe she didn't realize what the reaction was she was going to get. Okay, so Amallah, so Rabbi Nachman said to her, Mishamas Shamta Mipume, did you hear the scholar use the word Shamta? Shamta is another word for Nida and Chayram. Did you hear him put you in excommunication? So Amar Leilo, she said no. He obviously showed displeasure. So Amar Lo, so Rabbi Nachman said to her, Zili nehuga nezifusa chad yoma benafshech. So then you should do nazifa for 1 day. Okay? So another example where nazifa is for how long? 1 day. Second example. All of these are stories in Bavli. Rabbi Nachman is in Bavli. Okay? Another story. Okay? You see, by the way, this comes up with some regularity.
Indeed. People got pretty.
Maybe more regularity than actually nidui. Right? People understood they have to self-control themselves and with epic measures to kind of respond. Okay. So, okay, now.
Zutra Bar Tuvia.
Zutra Bar Tuvia have a kapasik sidra kameid Rabbi Yehuda. Zutra Bar Tuvia was studying the Seder, means he was going through the Tanakh. He was reviewing Tanakh, or he was learning Tanakh in front of Rabbi Yehuda. Kimat lahai psuki comes to the pasuk in Shmuel Bet, Perek Chav Gimel. It says V'ele divrei David ha'achronim, and these are the words, the last words of David, or the last words, later words of David. So as he's reviewing it, he says to Rabbi Yehuda, Amale achronim bechal dika rishonim. These are the last words of David. What's the first words of David? What does it mean, the last words of David? What else did David say? So Rishonim, I know what are the Rishonim? What is the pasuk referred to? So Shasik v'lo Amalei v'lo Midis. Rabbi Yehuda did not respond. Didn't know the answer. Didn't know what the pasuk meant. So Amalei, so Hadar Amalei, so Zutre Bar Tuvia repeated it. He thought that Rabbi Yehuda didn't hear him. So he repeated the same question again. So he repeated it again the second time. Now, Rabbi Yehuda heard him pretty well the first time. The reason he didn't respond was he didn't know the answer. So he repeated a second time. So Rabbi Yehuda felt this was like he was putting him down.
Right.
Well, you don't know. Let me ask you a question again. How could you not know? So Amalei, so Rabbi Yehuda said, what do you think? My daita. The lo yada perusha the high lav gav rabahu. You think a person doesn't know the pshat in this pasuk? It's not a great person. In other words, you think the fact that I know pshat in pasuk means I'm an amaretz? What do you think? I'm an idiot? That's what he basically said to him. So Yada, so Zutroy Batuvia, Yada knew the Nokid Mosa B'naite. He understood that he said something wrong. He insulted him. Nohag nisifusi b'nafshi chad yoma. Okay. And he therefore put nazifa upon himself for 1 day. Okay, so that's once again the third example about nazifa for 1 day. Now the Gemara has to explain what the pshat is in the pasuk, which Rabbi Yehuda didn't know, which was Zutre Bar Tuvia didn't know. But the point of the proof is it's clear that there's a 1 day nazifa.
Much
what
more
nazifa
reasonable
is. Right.
Bavel, I have to say.
Or that Bavel is not as strong. The power was not as strong as Eretz Yisrael.
Well, these are people putting it themselves, right? So I'm saying.
But the same thing, the Nidra is only for 7 days.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying maybe they were more stolz bazech. They were more standing on honor in Eretz Yisrael than maybe.
I think it's also the fact that there were certain things they couldn't do in Babel. For example, we know the basin did not give knasos, didn't give knas, didn't give these same kinds of things in Bavel they did in Eretz Yisrael. There wasn't capital punishment always in Bavel. So the basin itself is seen as a shadow replica of what was in Eretz Yisrael because they're not in Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, they may have felt that their power was less, and people felt the power was less, and so therefore, they diminished the amount of days. Best example, best reason I can give. Anyways, so Gemara says, back to what the topic is. Uda asan Allah. When it says so now that we got to this, we put this on the table, this question. So we're here already. So what does it mean when it says Divrei Achronim, what are the Rishonim? So it says Vaydaber David Lashem is Divrei Ashira Zos B'Yom Yitziel Hashem Oso Mikav Koloyev Umikav Shaul. It refers to the parak before, where David gave praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for saving him from Shaul and saving him from all his enemies.
These are the Rishon, the earlier words.
These are the Rishonim of praise, which are the parak before, the parak that follows V'Ela Divrei David Achronim. Now the Gemara gives the drush about it. Amalei. So David Melech praised Shaul, praised God for saving him from Shaul. So Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu David. David, Shira Tomer Amapalaso Shaul, you're singing a song for being saved that Shaul was brought down. Right? You think you really thank you God. Ilmale Ata Shaul v'hu David. If you had been Shaul and he had been David, Ibadi Kama David mipanav. I say really, it's not because the Shaul was put down, I needed to raise you up. So if you had been the Shaul and he had been David, he would have lost and you would have been saved. It wasn't that Shaul was a bad person. You just happened to be, by virtue of the fact of Malchut Beit David, you're the person who was able to be saved by Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Hainu the Ksiv, and this is what the pasuk says. Shigayon leDavid asher shar Lashem al divrei Kush ben Yemini, and this is connected to Patilim Perek Zayin, which it says that David is singing regarding Kush ben Yemini, and it's called Shigiyah from Shigayon, a mistake. Right. In other words, he sang about something about Kush ben Yemini, who we'll see in a moment in Shaul, and yet it's called Shigayon. So the Gemara says, who's this Kush ben Yemini? V'chi Kush Shemo. Is his name Kush? Halu Shaul Shemo. So in other words, David was singing about the fall of Shaul, who comes from Binyamin. Right. So why is he called Kush? So Lama Kushi Meshuna Ba'oro, Av Shaul Meshuna Ba'maso. But David called this in Tehillim, he nicknames him Kush ben Yemini, not Shaul ben Yemini, because the same way that a Kushi is different in their color of their skin, so Shaul was different positively about his masim. So in other words, what we're trying to say is that David HaMelech was thanking God for being saved for Shaul. Hashem says to him, you don't really realize how much I saved you, because Shaul was a good guy. If not for the chance quirk of who you are and who he is, you would have been dead and he would have survived. And you really don't appreciate what it means. No, because the Malchut Beit David had to be established.
Why?
Why?
That's a whole other story.
That's another story. I don't know why, but I'm saying, but the point of it being, or in other words, David HaMelech, the point of it is that David HaMelech, who's singing praise to God, didn't even realize how much he had to thank God that he survived.
Right.
He thought he survived because Shaul was an evil person out to get him. God is saying, no, he was a good guy, but due to the way, the laws of Hashem, the mysterious ways of God, you survived and he did not. And the proof is, or the proof text is, in this Tilim Zayin, where he's called the Shigayon, what a silly mistake he makes about overcoming Kush ben Yemini, i.e. Shaul ben Yemini. Why is he called Kush? Because the same way Kushi is different, so Shaul was different and to be praised about his activities. That's the point of it.
What was the mistake?
What was David's mistake? I don't know. David's mistake was he thought he won over a bad guy. And God's response is, you know what? He was as good as you, but you were.
You're part of my plan.
You're part of my plan. That's what's saying. Okay, God's plan he did. Okay. But the point of it being, that's what the first words of David giving praise was. The second one was in Perek Chav Gimel, Perek later. So we've answered what the two
What
praises
they
of
were
David
showing.
are,
Right.
and once we brought that, we explained a little drush about what David did know and didn't appreciate. The point of it being, because we threw in this part about Kush,
Right, since we're mentioning Kush.
since we mentioned Kush, it goes topic to topic. We talked about Nazifa. We brought the whole story of Nazifa. Since you brought the story about Nazifa, David Rishon Machronim, I got to tell you what that means. And since we brought the proof text about Kush, that the Shaul is really a good guy because he was so unusual, so now we're going to talk about Kushi. So the theme of Kushi is, in the eyes of Chazal, this is the drush that goes one after the other, it runs about 6 lines, about that long, is that the analogy of using Kushi in the Tanakh is about someone that is different in a positive kind of way. Okay? The same way that and then you have to appreciate in the ancient world, the Nubia, right, or Kush, which is Ethiopia, which was the end of the known world, was the black people were very different, right?
Sure.
And in fact, if you look at old European Sidurim, it talks about the bracha Meshaneh Habriot. See something different. So in some of the old Sidurim that go back centuries, it says if you see a Kushi, that's the bracha you make. Because that was like really unusual. They didn't see them in Europe, right? Sure. Today, in North America and around the world, in the global community, it's not that unusual. Sure. So the bottom line is, when with the term of a black person, or the use of a black person, was pointing out something unusual.
Yeah.
Was not meant to be racially talking about something. In fact, if it looks like it's referring to racial characteristics, the medrash we're about to read is going to say, no, it's not racial. It's about their moral characteristics. The same way the Kushi stood out, so their moral characteristics stood out, L'tov. That's the analogy the Chazal see in the use of the word Kushi. Very unusual. People don't know this.
Especially when the next one with the Kushi that the Moshe married, right?
Correct. The same that's going to come up again and again. But once again, it's viewed in a very positive kind of analogy, and as a characteristic, an unusually good characteristic, in the same way that a Kushi is an unusually colored individual in the eyes of the Caucasians or the Romans back then. Okay. So where does it go? So I'm sorry, skip the line.
No, that's right.
Kiyotze b'davar, Atzomer, alodot Isha Kushit asher lakach. So Miriam speaks about the Isha Kushit. So who's the Isha Kushit? So we say it's normally Tzipporah. Why was she called Kushit? She wasn't a Kushit. She's a Midianite. So a lot of Midrashim. So one is this medrash. There's a very long medrash in one of these. I forget what the medrash is called. Chaye Moshe or something about Moshe. That when Moshe leaves Mitzrayim, how old is Moshe when how old is Moshe when Bnei Yisrael leave Mitzrayim? 80. Okay. So how old is Moshe when he hits the Egyptians? Is he 80 years old?
No.
He's much younger. So he's got to be 40.
Yeah,
30. So what does he do for 40 years? Nobody knows. It's not recorded. It's not important really. He runs off to Midjan. So there's a medrash that says before he runs to Midjan, he runs down to Cush. And he runs to Cush, and he's a strong man, he's a hero, he conquers the city, and he lives with this Cushi wife for all these years. And then suddenly, he realizes this is not his mission. He runs away again. He runs away, and this time he goes to Midian, finds Jethro and the girls, and then he marries Tzipporah, and so forth and so on.
Oh, that's a good
question. So that's the girl he left behind. Okay.
He left her behind.
Yeah, that's right.
Except that
this is Miriam now who's speaking about you're so holy pure, Moshe. You have
Remember
this
that
piece.
girl back in...
Right. This is the history that has caught up with you. Your previous life, Moshe. That's the medrash.
The thing that she's talking about there is because he didn't have relations with this one.
That's the shot of the medrash. That, in other words, that she didn't have relations. According to this other medrash, which I told you is very fantastically hard to believe, that Moshe has this other woman, Isha Kushit. That's what Miriam's referring to. It's a medrash that is spun upon this one pasuk.
Why would he leave his wife behind?
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he had them both together.
Because she was an idol worshiper. And he wasn't. He couldn't be. He was a member of the Jewish people.
Yeah. And why didn't he turn her? I would surely. Anybody could influence anybody.
That's right.
All right.
So, at any rate,
Hashem only appeared to him in Midian.
Correct. This is Moshe. He's running away. Moshe's raised in the palace. He's half Egyptian. He's half this. Right?
30-year-old guy.
So at any rate, so the Gemara says, let's go back to this medrash. The Kushit Shema was she a Kushit was named Kushit. V'alo Tzipor Shema. She was Tzipor. Ma Kushit Mishuna Ba'ora. Av Tzipor Mishuna B'Maseh. But Tzipor was also tzadeket. That's what it means. The same way Kushi is different, so Tzipor was different. Kayotze b'ozeh, Kayotze b'davar tov. But another
But
example.
you know, we stay here for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, again, presumably Miriam is complaining about this Isha Kushi. That's what she's saying.
So she's complaining.
No,
so
but she's saying that she's so special. Here, we're telling you.
No.
What's she saying? Why did you marry this really special person?
This Medrash, this Gemara follows the opinion that he's not living with his wife. That's exactly the point. Your wife is such a tzaddik, you're a tzaddik, and yet you're not together.
I got you. Okay.
That falls in line with that.
With that.
But the real question is why is she called Kushit? Because we know genetically she's not Kushit.
Of course.
Kushit are very different people. Midianites are not.
Yeah.
The rest of the pasuk, when God Himself intervenes on Moshe's behalf, He says he's the humblest guy, and you shouldn't talk against him. And
Correct.
He's the greatest and everything else. So he's trying to defend Moshe against what she's attacking him, which is that living with his wife.
Right.
He's saying, Hashem is saying,
Because he's on call, and therefore he can't have.
Correct. That's the pshat, but it doesn't explain to us why she's called Kushit. You're right. So why is she called Kushit?
She's a wonderful person.
That's why she called Kushit. So that's what the Gemara says. She's called Kushit because she's so wonderful.
We don't need the other measures.
I agree. I'm just telling you. Telling you, there's a lot of approaches what it means. This is the pshat, and the normative medrash that you know is because he was not living with his wife. But why? We know her name is Sipora. Comes up in a number of places. Why she called Kushit? She's not Kushit. So this is the Gemara says Kushit becomes a reference to not racially what she is, but in terms of her midot tovot. Okay. So another example. Kiyotz b'davar tomer. Vayishma eved melech hakushi. Okay, this is about the king of the referring to Tzidkiyahu. But Kushi shmo, v'lo Tzidkiyahu shmo. Story there. Yirmiyah was talking about Tzidkiyahu, the last king. Lama kushi mishunab oro af Tzidkiyahu mishunab masa. Okay, so once again, the Kushi does not mean the king of Kush. It means Tzidkiyahu, who was unique and special in his masa. Tovim like a Kushi is special in his skin. Kiyotz b'davar tomer. This is the Haftorah of I remember now. It's one of might be the end of. Is it? I know it's almost. It's one of our Haftorahs. It's one of our Haftorahs. It's a machlokas with the Sephardim and Ashkenazim. Okay. So halok ivnei kushim atem li. Might be Achmei Moshe Gedoshim. Okay. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to almost that you are to me like the Kushiyim. So what does it mean? Well, like the Kushiyim, what does that mean? So v'chi Kushiyim shmam, are we Kushim? V'yisrael shmam, we're Jews, right? So you're to me, the Jewish people. Ama Kushim mishuna baro, av Yisrael mishunim maseim mikolomo. So we're different and we're special in terms of all the nations, the same way the Kushi is different from all the other types of people. Okay? So and then we got a little more piece here about the I got it to about David, and then we'll I think we get back to Neder for a little bit, and then we eventually going to get to Avelut. Okay, so it's probably a good place to stop. Yeah.